Warm greetings from the High 10. It's Everyday Shenanigans, and thanks for joining me. This is breaking news I'm bringing to you out of Washington, D.C. 3 people have been shot near the University of District of Columbia, UDC, in Northwest D.C. 11 alive is the source. D.C. police are searching for the person or persons responsible for a shooting near the campus of the University District of Columbia in Northwest D.C., where at least 3 people are injured. 1 man, woman, and a juvenile girl were shot near the intersection of Connecticut Avenue and Van Ness Street Northwest at 3:20 p.m., according to MPD Assistant Chief Stuart Emmerman. All 3 were taken to the hospital for treatment, and 2 adults are in stable but critical condition, while the juvenile has minor injuries, Emmerman said. Several schools, businesses, and apartment buildings in the area were evacuated or asked to shelter in place for safety. UDC remains locked down. Emmerman said currently the police do not have any suspects at the time. We're continuing to search the area, and we have it locked down as we are looking for any suspect or suspects, Emmerman said. We do not have a motive at this time, and we do not know the full details of what took place. Emmerman said several individuals who were running from the scene were detained to determine if they were suspects or witnesses early in the response, but those questions have been cleared. We do not have any description at this time that I can put out, Emmerman said. Emmerman added that no officers have been injured. Law enforcement from multiple agencies are actively canvassing and searching apartment buildings in the area. Area residents who have not been evacuated by police have been asked to remain sheltered in place. Parents and students at lockdown schools were asked not to come to the schools. Instead, the Cleveland Park Library is serving as a family reunification center. Witnesses at the scene described seeing people running around, hiding under cars, and multiple parents said they were coming to pick up their children from the nearby Edmund Burke School. Edmund Burke is a private co-ed school for 6th to 12th graders. A Howard Law School student who did not want to give her name said she was on a study break when she heard multiple sounds of gunshots. It was an entire standstill. Everybody stopped their cars, she said. We were bumper to bumper. We didn't know what to do. Then we heard another round go off, at least 20 shots. We started to go down Van Ness, and all the cars stopped again. And we heard another round go off. We didn't know how close the bullets were, so we just stopped right there. The student said she saw adults and children running in the area. The Sheridan School, another private school nearby for kindergarten through 8th grade students, sent a letter to families Friday afternoon notifying them of the shooting. We have received word that there is currently a situation at an apartment building in Van Ness and Connecticut involving an active shooter. I repeat, Van Ness and Connecticut. Active shooting at an apartment building. Everyone who was at Sheridan is safe and currently inside the building. We have spoken with MPD, and they indicated we are not in danger. The U.S. Park Police, Secret Service, FBI, ATF, and UDC police are all assisting with the investigation and search for persons involved in the shooting. The FBI Washington field office is providing assistance to the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department in response to shootings in the 4100 block of Connecticut Avenue, Northwest, the FBI said in a statement. The situation is ongoing, and the FBI will provide appropriate personnel and resources as requested and needed. This investigation is ongoing, and anyone with any information is asked to call the DC Police at 202-727-9099 or text 50411. Repeat, if you have accurate information to help in this ongoing investigation, you are in the DC area, please dial 202-727-9099 or text 50411. 11 Alive is the source. Atlanta, Georgia News. Let's see what we have here to play pertaining to this crazy story coming out of Washington, D.C. And I'm also going to bring you some information of a woman who jumped out of a building, an 8th floor window, because her boyfriend held her hostage and had her tied up, also in Washington, D.C. It's a very interesting information. I don't know what the hell's going on up there. It's just a copycat from NYC shooting in the subway. Very sick. Hello, Marta. How you doing? Thank you all for joining me. Let's see if I can get some information out here for you guys. Let's see. It's not playing anything. Well, 1 second. Now my screen's jumping off. Hello, honey. Thank you so much for joining me. Trying to bring you the latest information coming out of Washington, D.C. as I speak. Was trying to pull up something to see if it will play audio. Let's see. 1 minute. Thank you all for joining me. Hope everyone is well, having a safe weekend. Obviously, we have some demons out here that won't rest. The weather picks up, starts to get warm, and now we have crazy people on the loose deciding they want to shoot random people for whatever reason. God have mercy on all of us.
With this epidemic of gun violence, as she has put it herself, that has transpired in this city. Darcy?
Yeah, I think the mayor's comments were very moving. At first, she wasn't even going to say anything. She started to walk away from the cameras, and I said, Mayor, do you want to say something? And she walked back up and gave some very emotional comments that she had to look in parents' eyes today. Those parents were terrified. And imagine, as a mayor, this is her city, having to look in the eyes of those parents who are terrified. Their kids are in lockdown inside a school. There is a gunman who has shot 3 people already and is not in custody. So, yeah, she is frustrated and also just very emotional. This is a long day. This has been going on since the 3 o'clock hour. And police are still here on scene. There are so many officers. They are also working overtime to try to get this solved, to get the person in custody. The new news that we just got is that they do have a person of interest, and apparently they were able to develop this person based on some social media postings. So you better believe law enforcement, they look at social media as well. They're seeing what people are posting, and they developed 23-year-old Raymond Spencer as a person of interest. They say they want to talk to him at this point, not being named as a suspect. This is someone who they want to talk to based on social media posts. So we will have to wait and see if they're able to figure out where this person is, and where that person is, and whether they can make an arrest. I asked, do you know where he may be? Is he in the local area? Has he already left? That's something that they're not sure of. They want to make sure they get everyone out of harm's way, especially those children, and clear the buildings in the area before they can get back to any kind of normalcy. Let's hear a little bit of what the mayor had to say. She was very, very emotional.
I think it should be mentioned that unfortunately I had to look in parents' eyes tonight who were terrified. And they were terrified thinking of what might happen to their children. And we have experienced this too much in our country. The epidemic of the gun violence, the easy access to weapons has got to stop. People should not be scared taking their children to school.
So you heard those very strong words from the mayor just a short time ago, talking about the epidemic of gun violence. And, it's just scary to think a little girl, 12-year-old girl, shot and wounded, a man, a woman. I asked how long do they think that this on-scene part of the investigation may be going on. Of course, they have a lot of work to do. They got to take care of people first, make sure people are safe, the kids are safe. And this investigation is going to continue here for the next several hours. But at some point, they're going to have to figure out and decide, do they think that this person, this gunman, is still here in the area or has left? But I expect that they're going to be continuing their investigation here. Things are going to be on lockdown for some time in the next several hours at least. But we'll wait and see if there's another update. They didn't say if there would be, but I'm expecting at some point we should get some additional information. Also, that 4th victim coming forward. So now this is a total of 4 shot and wounded here today.
Wow.
Back to you.
And people, importantly, it was mentioned, should continue to shelter in place for how long, we don't know, probably until they find
Darcy,
this person of interest.
let me ask you, the buses that were leaving the scene behind you that were out of service, do you by any chance know if anybody was on board those? If those might have been any of the buses shuttling teachers, students from that area? Have we gotten eyes on the kids, on the staffers of the school yet?
No, as far as I saw, as far as those buses, they were out of service. I didn't see anyone on those buses or them being used in any way as part of this investigation. But yeah, they'll have to figure out how to get all these kids home. Parents were told not to flood the area, of course.
Exactly.
So, but no, not at this point. I think they're safe inside the building, and that's the best place for them to be, to make sure they're not exposed. They're there with the police. Many are in contact. All of our kids, many of them have cell phones, or a friend has a phone, to make sure that you can stay in contact, especially in a time like this. You want to just know
That's
that
a
they're
good
okay.
thing. Exactly. Darcy, we want to pick back up on the reunification. The mayor mentioned that the process would begin, so we want to turn to Corey Smith. Corey, what are you seeing there at that reunification center at the Cleveland Park Library? Have you seen some families get together yet?
No, Jim. Still have not seen any sort of reunifications. No shuttles, vehicles that you would expect to have large amounts of people in them pull up to the library here. It's just a lot of police, anxious parents who have been inside for, some of them for more than an hour at this point, come outside just to get some fresh air, to take a breath on what has obviously been a very, very long afternoon. But I can also tell you, Beth, if you can, you'll see that Red Cross vehicle there blocking the sidewalk. On the other side of that vehicle, there is a car with a bullet hole in it, and
Wow.
I believe we also have some video that we can show you, giving you a picture of what that was. During the press conference, we heard a reporter ask the member of the police department whether that car, that bullet hole, may be connected to the shooting scene down there on Connecticut Avenue. The officer said they're looking into that, which, just to give you a perspective, we're about a half a mile from the school. So you can only imagine just how far that bullet would have had to travel if indeed it was shot during the barrage of gunfire. And not only that, there were also two businesses nearby that were hit. Biblo's Deli was hit. Uptown Vision has a bullet hole in its window. So police are trying to determine whether that is connected to the shooting down there on Connecticut Avenue. But again, that is about a half a mile away from where we are. In a bit of twisted coincidence, the man who owns that vehicle, his wife was down in Navy Yard when that shooting happened. So I just spoke to him just about what this afternoon was like, what he was doing down here, and ultimately walking back to his vehicle and finding that bullet hole in the driver's side of his windshield. Let's go ahead and take a listen to what he had to say.
So I parked it directly in front of the 7-Eleven, and then took my wife and 3-year-old son to the zoo for the afternoon. That was about 2 o'clock. Returned about 4:15, somewhere in that neighborhood. When we entered the vehicle, we noticed it was just completely full of glass. And then, because we approached it from the back, and then we noticed that the front windshield had a bullet.
Sorry for the static. Somebody's recording.
My wife was at the Navy Yard during that shooting on Surf Floor, so she very much wanted to leave the area. So we moved ourselves a little bit from the scene, but then stopped at the next police officer that we saw, and then gave him our report and the bullet that was lodged in the front console.
I asked Roman how he is sort of rationalizing this. And I also asked him, when we think about the trauma an event like this will no doubt cause to these kids, to these teachers, I asked him how long it's taken his wife to not get over it. You could probably never get over it, but just at least to accept it and try to rationalize it. He says, several years on, I can't recall how long ago the Navy Yard shooting was. He says his wife still deals with the stress and the trauma when she hears about an active shooter situation. She gets anxious. So today was one of those days, and you can only imagine how much worse it is when it is in your own backyard. So certainly kind of gives you an insight into what these parents who are waiting here at the reunification center are going to have to go through. They are traumatized themselves, but obviously our thoughts are with the kids that have been in that school all day for the last 4, perhaps 5 hours at this point, just waiting anxiously to see their parents. So hopefully at some point soon, we will start to see these kids arrive to the library to see their parents. And and start the long healing process. That is the very latest here from Cleveland Park Library. We'll send it back to you guys.
All right, Corey, thank you so very much. We got to get to Jackie Benson now, back to the scene where this all originally started unfolding. Jackie Benson joining us live tonight. Jackie, can you hear us?
Yes, I can, and I hope you can hear me. What's happening now? It appears this scene is absolutely ramping down. There is also an investigation, a search for the person of interest in this case that is going up exponentially every second that passes. All the type of resources, everything you saw here, that's now going in the direction of finding this person of interest that they're looking for. A short time ago, I spoke to a woman named Fatima. She lives in this building, and I'm sorry, we do not have her sound, but she lives in this building, and she, like everyone else, is waiting. There are almost 300 units in that building waiting to get back in there. But the search right now shifts from this location, I think, and shifts to we don't know where it is going. Live in Northwest, Jackie Benson, News 4. Back to you.
Jackie, thank you for your 4 hours of complete coverage and bringing us the very latest. We appreciate it. Amy Cho has just talked to someone who was shot, a victim in this afternoon. What did they say, Amy?
Yeah, she, of course, is so thankful to be okay. We just spoke with her moments ago. Patricia Termini was grazed by one of the bullets in that shooting. She showed us the bullet hole in her shirt, and she still had blood on the side of it. We want to give you a brief clip of what she had to say, and she described that harrowing incident.
Kind of unnerving because I physically and, literally don't really see much from my point. So I see enough to know that something is wrong, and that was kind of what was going through my head at first. But, I didn't really know what the situation was or how long it would be going on. Obviously, it's been a couple of hours now. My roommate and I both feel safe in here for now. We can still see people coming and going, but just kind of awaiting updates as they come.
It appears that was the incorrect video file that we played. We apologize for that. We will work to turn around the correct one for you. We're going to send it back into you.
All right, Amy, thanks so much. We'll be back, of course, with updates at 11. We want to let you know that there is another briefing set for 10 o'clock now, but should any news break, any new developments, we will be right back on the air live for you. And, of course, you can always go to our NBC Washington app throughout this evening, and we'll be right back here with live team coverage with the latest at 11. We do have a name, a person of interest. We do have a picture. So police are frantically searching still.
Right. Raymond Spencer, 23 years of age. This is the person of interest that police want to talk to tonight. 4 people have been shot, the youngest victim, 12 years of age, and the search for a gunman continues tonight. We'll be joining you later this evening as soon as we get more updates. Count on it for 11 o'clock, and if we get anything new, we will be joining you on air and online. Thanks for staying with us tonight.
All right, everybody, that's News 4 out of Washington, D.C. Raymond Spencer, a young man. He appears to be a brown-skinned person. Maybe I can't say if he's Indian, Hispanic, foreign Indian, or Italian, but he has dark hair, and he's a brown-skinned person. The information has changed now from 3 to 4 people, 3 adults and 1 child. I will change the title because somebody else has come forward to say that they were also shot. I believe it was the lady who was grazed by a bullet, and that caption they played was incorrect. So when I get more information, I will bring you that said information. But so far, there are no custodies in suspects in custody. But this Raymond Spencer is a person of interest. So obviously through social media posts and I Spy, somebody has given up this young man's name for a reason. What is your problem, sir? Now, it was bad enough a week or so ago. We had a 62-year-old black man shooting people on the subway in New York. And now you, a young man, shooting at people in an apartment building. I believe these victims are from an apartment building. So what is the problem, Mr. Spencer? You live in the building. You're mad. What happened? You've been locked out. What? Kicked out, evicted. What? You got to move. What? Homeless. What? What's your problem? Is this a copycat from last week's events in New York City? This is very baffling information coming out of Washington, D.C. And as I said, this is information coming in today, Friday, at 3:20 p.m. There was an active shooter. Somebody was shooting at people. Now we have information that a car window was shot out. Bullet holes in a car. So this person didn't really care about just if he was shooting at people in a building, because a car naturally isn't in a building. It's on the outside. So, Mr. Spencer, who are you shooting at if you are the person indeed that's the shooter? Why? It's a very sick situation. This is information pertaining to a Van Ness apartment building. It said 2 tanks carrying officers just arrived on scene. This is earlier. They had guns in hand and appeared to be using the tanks as shields to approach the Ava Van Ness apartment building. This is the source is NBC Washington. It's very interesting information. You can go to Twitter to see the said police officers outside of this building. Now, if you are trying to get to your child should be at the Cleveland Park Library at 3310 Connecticut Avenue Northwest. This is a reunification site at the Cleveland Park Library for people to pick up their children. This is a very sick situation. I'm going to play you some information from a bystander or eyewitness. Thank you for joining me. This is Everyday Shenanigans. If you'd like to donate to the channel, $Big Angie 129 Cash App. All super chats are welcome during this live. Mercy, what a mess. What a mess. Prayers for the East Coast. Prayers that this person is apprehended. And praying it's only one person. Praying there will not be any more shootings. Thank you. So much for a good weekend.
Scared and we're sheltering in place. I literally ran out the car. My wife was like, "You know, you left the car running." I was like, I didn't care at that point. But and then I rolled up, and as I said on the air earlier, I saw tactical officers picking up a child, not EMTs, police officers picking up a child and moving the child, while they had other officers had guns trained on the school.
You've seen that countless times on TV. You've been at scenes where
I've shot that.
Be on the other side of that wall.
It's surreal, man. It's like literally, I feel like I'm in Twilight Zone. I feel like we just got to do better as just people. We got to do better.
This is a photojournalist speaking, Tariq Warner.
We just got to do better.
Can you explain?
Near his daughter's school. He's speaking of the investigation near his child's school.
What is that area like, especially on a Friday?
It's jovial. Let me tell you, the Burke community is a great community. It's a great academic place. It's a great place for your kids to go to school. The parents are cool. That whole, you know, the area. I mean, it's badass. It's UDC. It's just very troubling, man. And then, like what we've been doing, we've been covering a lot of death and destruction in DC. There's an uptick in violence. And nobody's safe from it.
What time does school normally let out?
3:30. 3:15. So the kids are usually out by 3:30. So
what is it like during dismissal time? You know,
it's fun. Kids are just good. It's Friday.
Is it kids
and their
parents?
The school's not that big, right? The school is 300-something students, and that's middle school and high school. So it's not a huge school, but it's Friday school pickup. It's jovial. It's not, this is just the most random backwards thing ever to happen.
Have you even started to think about how you explain this?
Well, I talked to Maya. She was in good spirits. And unfortunately, Corey, this generation of kids, it's not that random. They've grown up with I was about to say my own age, Columbine. Not Columbine, but Sandy Hook. They've grown up with Parkland, Florida. They have drills for this. This is surreal, man. That's all I got.
That is our photographer, Tariq Warner, getting a hug from our colleague there, Corey Smith, on the scene. Tariq, we send you our love as well. Tariq is a parent. His daughter Maya attends the Edmund Burke School. He was there for pickup this afternoon when all of this started happening. He's waiting to be reunited with her. He has been able to speak to her by way of phone. She's in good spirits, as he put it. They're waiting to be reunited. And just over his shoulder, I couldn't help but notice, you saw another father hoisting up his little girl, giving her a kiss on the cheek.
But most of those students, 300 plus, as Tariq mentioned, are still in lockdown right now.
Right.
All right, everybody. That's information coming out of Washington, D.C. That's Tariq Warner. Warner, he is a photojournalist, and he was trying to get to his child. This is very, very sick information. Let me see if there's anything else I want to give after this story here. As I said, there's an update. There are now 4 people that have been shot near this school apartment building. I do not know if all these people were shot at the apartment building, but some cars got shot as well. A man was speaking about a car. So I'm going to start this over with News 4. 2 adults and a child were shot Friday afternoon in Van Ness neighborhood, Northwest D.C., prompting a major police response. Hours later, police are still continuing to search for a suspect or suspects. Officers in tactical gear could be seen running in the area. Others had their guns drawn as evacuated residents of an apartment building on Van Ness Street Northwest. Authorities were interviewing several witnesses but had no one in custody, they said about 5:40 p.m. Friday. Officers were seen escorting a man in handcuffs about an hour earlier, but an assistant police chief later said no one was in custody. Several people who ran from the area due to the sound of gunshots were interviewed, Assistant Chief Stuart Emmerman said. At this point, we do not have any suspects in custody. He said, we're interviewing several witnesses. As would naturally happen during an incident like this, several individuals ran from the area, so we did stop several individuals to conduct witness investigations with them. If they are not linked to the incident, yes, they will be released, Emmerman said. The 3 victims were taken to the hospital where they are being treated. The assistant chief said the 2 adults, a man and a woman, were in critical condition but were stable. The juvenile victim had a minor gunshot wound, police said. We have 3 of our residents that have been injured. Residents, and we are praying for their health and well-being, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser said. Okay, she said residents. I don't know why I kept thinking that they were at an apartment building. But I'm going to go into that now. It says residents of apartment building evacuated by armed officers. So that leads me to believe that maybe something was transpiring in the apartment building, because why would you evacuate people out of an apartment building? As the tense situation unfolded, armed officers rushed to lead residents out of an apartment building on Van Ness Street. Some residents were running barefoot or in socks, video shows. Officers appeared to be clearing residents in batches. Earlier, people walked. Later, groups were seen running. This is at Ava Van Ness building. So what was going on in this building for officers to go to this building and have people to come out? It's very strange, because it seems like to me you want to keep the people locked in their apartments instead of running out. Very strange. Very, very strange. The incident was centered in the 2900 block of Van Ness Street Northwest, police said, although they initially gave the location as 4100 block of Connecticut Avenue Northwest, which is around the corner. Much of the activity seems to be centered around the Ava apartment building on Van Ness Street off of Connecticut, with officers entering, exiting, and staging outside. A number of streets in the area are closed. Connecticut Avenue Northwest is closed from Porter to Albemarle Street. The busy neighborhood is home to a dense mixture of apartment buildings, restaurants, businesses, office buildings, and schools. Initial calls for help, which came in Friday around 3:20, which is today, reported an active shooter. Police dispatch calls revealed it wasn't immediately clear whether that was the case. Both Metro Police Department and Secret Service officers were seen responding to the area, as well as FBI agents. Helicopters were heard flying overhead. Police advised people to avoid the area, shelter in place. There's a family reunification site at the Cleveland Park Library at 3310 Connecticut Avenue Northwest. A message sent from Alert DC system warned people of an active threat and to shelter in place if you are nearby. The University of DC's Van Ness campus is on lockdown. Students and other members of the university community are advised to shelter in place. And imagine, know that this was hours ago, about 5 hours ago, almost 5 hours ago, when all this transpired. Because right now, Eastern Standard Time, it is 11 p.m., same time as Washington, D.C. So the first call, I believe, went in at 3:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Witnesses said they heard several rounds of gunshots. The mother of a student at the nearby Edmund Burke School, a private school for grades 6 through 12, told News 4 her son said he heard gunshots and then students took cover. We're literally ducking and hiding, another father said as his child sheltered inside the school. He said he saw broken windows. This is the worst nightmare any parent can have, and the father of 2 students at the school. So when he says broken windows, that means what? They were shooting at the school as well. So what's really going on here? You've got them tactical team outside of an apartment building, people running out of an apartment building. Now this father is saying he saw windows shot out where? At the school. Then we have another guy saying something about a car had bullet holes. So this person was just what? Shooting at everybody, anybody. Apartment building, in the building, outside the building, random cars, and also what? The schoolhouse? What the hell is going on? This is asinine here. Okay. No shooter was ever inside the school, police said. A Howard University law student was driving in the area with a friend when they heard the shooting begin. We heard gunshots go off so close to us that we stopped the car, she said. All the cars just stopped at a standstill, and then we all stopped. We didn't know what to do. And so we kept driving a little bit, and then another round went off, and they just kept going off. It was so many gunshots, she said. So how many gunshots were there? And as I just told you, they're looking for a young man as a person of interest, as I've played in this commentary. Oh, Lordy. NBCWashington.com is the source for this information. As you know, this is an active investigation. As far as I know, there has not been anyone brought into custody. I'm trying to bring all the latest. Let me tell you about another story that took place in Washington, D.C. On the 21st, which was uploaded yesterday. Woman plunges 8 stories from D.C. building after escaping attack. A woman is seriously injured after an 8-story fall from a building in Northwest D.C. Thursday evening. Now, this took place last night. The victim was found with her legs bound after prosecutors say her boyfriend choked her and tied her up. In apparent terror, she jumped out of a window to escape. Police said it was a miracle that the woman, said to be in her 20s, survived. She was in critical but stable condition after what the Metropolitan Police Department called a domestic incident. Kylie Jamal Palmer, 22, of Northwest D.C., was charged with assault with intent to kill, possession of an unregistered gun, and possession of a large-capacity ammunition feeding device. Palmer was armed with what police called a rifle-style ghost gun. It wasn't immediately clear if he had a lawyer. Now, this gun has been mentioned recently on the news, I believe by law officials and President Biden, that they were trying to get this ghost gun off the street. I had never heard of this gun until recently, a few days ago. So this young man had this type of gun, and it said the police called it a rifle-style gun. It is a gun that you can put together, kind of like a toy, in a box. You assemble it and make it into a gun. But I did not know that it could be transacted into like a rifle-style gun. Very interesting. The woman is expected to recover, Commander Duncan Bedillion said. We know she had serious injuries and she has a long road to recovery, so I don't want to disregard that. But it's a miracle she's alive. Amen. I agree with that. And I'm very grateful for that, he said. Police and prosecutors released disturbing new information on the case Friday. In court, prosecutors said the couple who shared a child had argued about Palmer believed his girlfriend was cheating on him. The victim told police Palmer choked her, tied her up. She jumped out of an 8-story window to escape with her legs still bound. This is a very wicked story because when you look at the view from the picture, 8 floors down is high, however you cut it. She is very lucky to be alive. It states a window screen that had been pushed out could be seen on the 8th floor. Police frantically searched for the woman and Palmer's 1-year-old son for a time. The child was later found safe with relatives. DC Fire EMS was called to 4500 block of Connecticut Avenue. This is interesting. This happens to be the same street where we have an active shooter a few hours ago. What are the odds of that? This is very interesting. The woman landed on a landscape area next to the Connecticut House building in the Van Ness area. Police said witnesses reported seeing a rope around the woman. There was some type of rope or item tied around parts of her body, legs, specifically, Bedelia said. The victim, I saw her on the ground. She was alive when I saw her, said a woman who sounded shaken. The woman was taken to a trauma center after the fall. Palmer fled the scene, police said. He was taken into custody as police investigated about an hour and a half after the woman's fall. He said he was the victim's boyfriend. According to police, News 4 footage showed a man being taken away. Court documents say Palmer and the woman dated for 3 years, and he believes she was having an affair. He forced her to take a polygraph test, which she failed, the documents say. Now, she was a good one because I wouldn't have taken a polygraph test. I don't think so. Palmer then allegedly shoved her to the ground, tied her hands and feet, and choked her until she was unconscious, court documents say. When Palmer left the room, the woman was able to untie her hands and get to the window. Then she jumped. Palmer claimed in court that he had been trying to help his girlfriend get free when she tripped on the rope. Palmer has previously faced a number of criminal charges, court records show, including pleading guilty to carrying a gun without a license in 2018. He was previously charged with resisting arrest and assaulting a police officer. He's being held without bond. It's due in court in 2 weeks. Police say they found a number of snakes, lizards in the apartment. They were later taken by animal control. An investigation is ongoing. Anyone with information on the crime is asked to contact police. This is an article pertaining to an event that took place last night in Washington, D.C., also on Connecticut Avenue. Domesticated between 2 young people, tied the girl up, choked her. She jumps out of a window. He's claiming he tried to help her. Ain't nobody going to believe that, sir. Previous charge of having a gun in 2018. He was carrying what is believed to be a rifle-style ghost gun. Not clear if he has a lawyer. His name is Kylie Jamal Palmer, 22, of Northwest D.C. He's been charged with assault with intent to kill, possession of an unregistered gun, and possession of large-capacity ammunition feeding device. This happened last night in Washington, D.C., possibly near the area where we had an active shooter today. Suspect still at large. 4 people now confirmed to have been victims of gunshot wounds, all alive. 1 is a girl child. Apartment building had tactical officers on foot outside. They were asking people to leave the building. This is a very wicked story out of Washington, D.C. What in God's name is going on out there? Very wicked. One second, please, while I get everything together. Hold on one second, you guys. Lord have mercy, these devices. What's the problem? Okay, let me see what I can get in the YouTube queue. Thank you for joining me. Hello, Cynthia. Hello, Don. How's everybody doing? Thank you so much for joining me. 30 viewing, not many, but that's okay. Let me go into where I was and see what the latest I can find. If there's anything been uploaded. Everything's the same. This is 20 minutes ago. Let's see what we can find here by News 4.
Trotted out of the area.
And we don't know how far they're being taken away, but our
Hello, everybody.
Are closer than they are going. So they are going farther than that, we can say. There is another dog being taken out, a pet and its owner. Again, no one is walking out of that building. They are running.
You can just imagine how other residents in the area are feeling.
Yeah, as they watch this unfold.
As they watch this unfold outside their doors, outside their windows. It's just an incredible scenario unfolding right now as we approach 5:30
As we look at that Ava building, Ava Van Ness building, it looks as though most of the units have balconies. I'm still trying to get I'm counting at least 7 floors. We're going to push in here. That's Amy Cho's camera there on the corner of Connecticut. There's the Ava building. And it is an apartment, a rental building.
That's been the focus, and it's been the focus of much of the police activity that we have seen.
So I'm wondering if
for 2 hours now.
I'm wondering if perhaps the shooting started there, and then the shooter came out and just started shooting randomly at cars or passerbyers when they got to the street. This is a very wicked story coming out of Washington, D.C.
It is a very chaotic scene here as well. I'm at the media staging area. I'm standing on Connecticut Avenue at the intersection with Porter Street, and you can see the scene, the vast scene right up the street here as you look north on Connecticut Avenue. Police car after police car with flashing lights. There is a lot of activity here. We were told to set up here. There are a lot of cameras from a lot of different stations here, a lot of chaos.
We can see the mayor approaching.
Yeah, we are waiting for the
chief, I believe. You can see her in our camera view as we push in there.
This was uploaded 2 hours ago. They believe that they're going to give another press conference at 10 o'clock. It is now 8:23 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I played you commentary from the mayor. She gave a brief commentary pertaining to the children, her concern about the children in the neighborhood, because this is a mixed neighborhood of businesses, restaurants, apartment buildings, and also schools. And this is also near the University, District of Columbia University. This is a very sad, sad story. I'm not going to hold you all, but I just want to bring you that sad information. I will change the title because now 4 people have been confirmed shot in this general area near the University of District of Columbia. I do not know if the shooter started in the apartment building or not, but there's a shooter at large, but they do have a person of interest, a young man. When I get more information pertaining to that, I will be back on later, possibly tomorrow, to bring you the said information, because naturally this is an ongoing investigation, and possibly we will have more information by tomorrow. Hopefully we will even have an arrest by daylight tomorrow. I want to thank you all for joining me. If you'd like to donate to the channel, $BigAngie129 Cash App. Prayers for the victims who have been shot. Prayers for the children, because I'm sure a lot of the children were shook up that were in school. The college students, people in the general area, shopping, business, people who live there. Prayers for the woman who had a domesticated altercation last night and jumped out of an 8th floor window. This is just crazy. Hold on one second. Let me see here what this guy is saying here. 1 second. Then I'm going to jump out of here. Hold on 1 second.
Approximately 3:20 this afternoon, members of the Metropolitan Police Department responded to the area of Connecticut Avenue and Van Ness Street Northwest with reported sounds of gunshots. Upon their arrival at that scene, the officers located 3 individuals who were suffering from gunshot wounds. All 3 individuals have been taken to area hospitals where they are currently being treated. 2 of the individuals are adults and are considered in stable condition based on their injuries. The 3rd victim is a juvenile, and that juvenile is also in stable condition with a minor gunshot wound. At this time, our units are currently in the area of Connecticut and Van Ness conducting a search for a suspect or suspects that is still to be determined as our investigation is continuing this time. We're asking the public to stay away from this area as we continue to do our search and continue our investigation. This is a very early point in our investigation, and we're still trying to figure out the motive or what specifically took place here. Are there any questions?
There's a report that the authorities located a tripod of some type that may have been connected to whoever the shooter is. Is that true? And if so, what would that tell you?
I don't have information on that at this time to give. At this point, we do not have any suspects because we were interviewing several witnesses. As would naturally happen during an incident like this, several individuals ran from the area. So we did stop several individuals to conduct witness investigations with them. But that's what is, I think, being reported as suspects. But the people we're interviewing from the scene. As we conduct our investigation, if they are not linked to the incident, yes, they will be released. That is still to be determined at this time, but no members of the Metcalf Police Department that responded or of our partner agencies that responded have been injured during the course of this incident.
Are you aware of the shooter live stream this at all?
There is information out there on social media. However, we have not been able to authenticate that at this time to determine whether that is even related to our incident. I'm sorry. None of the responding members from our law enforcement agency and partners that were on the scene here have been injured as a result. That is still to be determined. They're in a hospital being treated right now at this time. We are still trying to determine that. I'm sorry? Is what related? I'm sorry. Oh, the victims? That we are still trying to determine as well at this time. As I said, this investigation is still very much in its early stages.
At this point, some people they were surprised to see how
Well, I would say based upon the calls that we got and the information and the fluid nature of this investigation, an appropriate response came to this area to make sure that we lock down the neighborhood, make sure that folks up here are safe and sheltering, and we're continuing to do a very thorough search. As you know, some of these buildings are very large. They've taken some time for us to go through, especially based on the information that we have at the beginning of this investigation. So we're getting assistance right now from the United States Park Police, United States Secret Service Uniform Division. We've got assistance here from the University of District of Columbia Police. We also have some of our federal entities from ATF, FBI, and there are several others who are trying to assist us in this. We don't know that answer this time. We're still trying to authenticate that video.
Is there more than one shooting location?
No, at this time we believe we have one location.
I was going to ask you, can you tell us about where the victims were found? Were they grouped together? Do you believe they were all wounded in the same area? Can you describe that area to us?
So I don't have that information this time because, as naturally it happens after individuals were shot, some of them moved to different locations where we encountered them. So we're still piecing all that together as part of our investigation. There are several apartment buildings in that area. As part of our investigation, we are canvassing and searching all of those areas. We're still trying to determine that.
Are any of the embassies involved?
Not that I'm aware of. There are embassies in the immediate area, so we are working with our partners from the U.S. Secret Service Uniform Division to make proper notifications to them as well. Yes. Yes, at this time, please, we're asking if you are residing in this area to please shelter in place. Please stand by until we render the area clear and safe. If you do have information, we're asking you to call our Command Information Center at 202-727-9099, or you can text us at 50411, any information that you may have. We're still trying to determine that. This investigation is still, like I say, we're in its early stages. We're going to be investigating all angles of that.
And the condition of those in the hospital?
Everybody at this point is stable. I believe 2 of them are critical but stable.
Expected to survive?
Is my hope and understanding that they will. But they are critical but stable. Oh yes, there is. So there is a school up in the area of Van Ness and Connecticut. That school immediately went into a lockdown. Their students are inside the building at this point until we determine that the area is safe for them to leave. We have police officers inside the school with them. As soon as we have it situated that it is safe for them, we will make sure that the school system is notifying the parents of a reunification center where we can get them safely to reunite with their children. But we're asking the parents not to come up here to the school at this time. The children are all in the school, safe with the officers that are in there.
Chief, with the helicopter going overhead, can you take us from the top here? What did you guys have happen here so we can all hear and make sure that we're clear about what happened?
Sure.
Can I follow up on this? We heard reports that 2 students had minor injuries from breaking glass. Some of the parents had some of their time shut out. I think that was against the situation.
Correct. Correct. That is all stuff that we are working on right now. As you know, we do believe that there are some vehicles on the scene that were damaged as a result of the shooting, so that's part of our investigation to determine if that was in fact part of this.
Chief, you want to answer Clara?
Yes.
Very sad.
Again, to recap, at about 3:20, members of the Metropolitan Police Department responded to the area of Van Ness in Connecticut in regards to the sounds of gunshots, where we located 3 shooting victims, 2 adults who are in critical but stable condition at our area hospitals, and a third, which was a juvenile who is stable with a minor gunshot wound, also being treated at an area hospital. We do not know any relationships at this point between any of these 3. We are currently continuing to search the area, and we have it locked down.
I'm going to stop there because, as I said, this is an ongoing investigation, and it has been updated to 4 persons. So this was uploaded 20 minutes ago, NBC Washington 4 News, but it is saying that at least 4 people shot in DC's Van Ness area. So it's not 3 anymore. It is now 4. And I think at 10 o'clock, they're going to give another press conference, and they do have a suspect, not suspect, but a person of interest pertaining to the shooting. A young man. I played the information earlier. I'll try to go back in and get his name, and then I will log out of here. Thank you all so much for joining me. Let's see if they'll have his name come up. Yes, this is from the DC Police Department. Raymond Spencer of Fairfax, Virginia, is a 23-year-old male that the police is currently looking for as a person of interest in the connection to the shooting at 2900 block of Van Ness Street in Washington, D.C. He looks like he could be, as I said, he's more of a brown skin, yellow skin individual. Could be Korean, could be Indian, American Indian, could be foreign Indian. I'm not sure, but he looks like he is a foreigner. So, or American foreigner, however you like to word it. But anyway, 23-year-old Raymond Spencer, 23 years of age, is a person of interest in the connection to the shooting in 2900 block of Van Ness Street, Northwest in Washington, D.C. If you see this person, please call the local authorities. And prayers to the wounded, 4 people wounded, 1 girl child wounded. Prayers for everyone's recovery, prayers for everyone in the neighborhood. As I was listening to this content, I could see in the apartment building, the camera panned up to the top floor. You could see a police officer wearing, I believe, blue gloves with his back to the window. I don't know what was going on inside that apartment building, but he had his back to the window and had on plastic gloves. So what was going on in that said building? Were the victims' friends, family members knew of each other? Because I believe possibly this all started at an apartment building, because tactical officials were outside on standstill at this building. And I believe it's the same building where I was looking up inside the window. I could see a police officer inside through a glass window. What's happened? Is this a repeat of a New York City shooting in the subway by 62-year-old Frank R. James? We now have a copycat here in Washington, D.C. What's his problem? What's his motivation? Angry, mad, what? What's the problem? Let me say this. Everybody has problems. Everybody gets depressed, down, upset, gas high, food high. People need money, more money. People being evicted. People need to find a place to live. People don't have a place to live. People are homeless. People are destitute. People are in search of love, friendship, camaraderie. The point is, everybody is suffering to some degree, but you cannot go out and shoot people because things are not going your way. Life is not giving you the hand that you felt like you deserve. That's life. And as old folks love to say, it's what you make of it. But naturally, when you're down, depressed, you don't want to hear that. You don't want any advice. You want to vent, moan, stomp, cry. And unfortunately for some, seek revenge. Raymond Spencer, Fairfax, Virginia, is related to a shooting of 4 people in Van Ness today, Friday, in Washington, D.C. If you see this person, please call the police. Thank you all so much for joining me. God bless all of you. Have a safe weekend. Prayers for the lady also in Washington, D.C. that jumped out of an 8th floor window. She is alive by the grace of God. It was a domesticated situation. The boyfriend tied her up, and she decided to jump out of an 8th floor window. That boyfriend is now in custody. Please go back to the replay of this video to get the said information pertaining to that debacle in Washington, D.C. off of Connecticut. Also, it's very interesting information coming out of Washington, D.C. day for day. I find it very interesting. A woman jumping out of a window yesterday, I believe, and then now here's a shooting of 4 innocent people in Washington, D.C. What is the relations of the victims? Do they know the suspect? Are they related to the suspect? Or is this just a random shooting? Somebody's just mad at the world. Prayers for our great country, nation. Prayers for those who are mentally ill, not right, down and out, feeling some type of way. We're going to pray for you because you don't have the right to snuff us out because things aren't going your way. You need to go get help. What I would tell you is to try Jesus. He's on the main line and he's always available for consultation. He won't desert you and he will never leave you. You see, you have to stop putting your faith in man because, as the scripture says, he will surely disappoint you every time. Amen. Thank you all for joining me this Everyday Shenanigans. God bless you. Have a safe weekend.